Welcome. Let's just take a minute to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that we're here together. All of us are here together consciously, and all of us are here together and don't know that we're here together. There being really finally only one place, one time. We're all here now. Just take a quick moment to thank each piece of us that's here to be together. Every moment's really an incredible moment. If we take the second and the time and the moment to, and the consciousness to appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about healing. We're going to talk about healing and a recipe for healing, how to go about being a little bit more conscious about it, or perhaps being more conscious about getting out of the way and allowing healing to happen. So, before we get into it, have to just basically say that I am not a dietitian, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. What we're going to talk about now is for adults that are responsible for themselves, responsible for ourselves, which means this is in no way intended to substitute for medical, psychological, dietary, professional counseling. This is not a professional counsel session at all. What this is what it is that I've discovered to be natural law. The laws of healing. And so this is in the nature of opinion. Out of sheer cowardice, because the bottom line is in this situation, we're not allowed to actually say what we believe as authoritative and that we know as authoritative, because there are credentials and things that happen in this world, the way it's structured, to prevent us from communicating that way. So what this is opinion. However, it is what I know to be natural law, just through personal experience and through study of other people having obeyed or disobeyed these natural laws. So, to begin with, the fundamentals of healing, we need to understand that the body is self-healing. See that? Burn myself. What am I doing to heal it? Well, the part that's talking to you is doing nothing. Thank God, because all that part can do is interfere. This structure, this thing that you see, that you're now living inside of, this body, is a self-healing mechanism. That's its nature. So we want to provide the circumstances, the conditions for healing. I will tell you that there are conditions for healing and there are conditions for illness. The things that our cells thrive, they don't thrive, they need oxygen. The things that are pathogenic, that cause disease, are anaerobic, largely. That means they don't like oxygen. They also like acidic environments. Acidic environments means stress, all the bad food we eat, all the bad thinking we do, the pollution in the air, in the water, very acidic. So we tend towards being a very acidic culture, very acidic bodies. The conditions for the healing of the body. Okay, conditions for overall healing. For the sake of convenience, body, emotions, mind, thinking mind, not cosmic mind, thinking mind, and soul, soul being the invisible, and the divine. A lot of words. It's easy to get lost in these words. So these 4 aspects. For healing, full healing, we want all of these aspects to heal. And all 4 of these aspects are self-healing, which means they're self-healing, self-balancing, self-correcting, unless there's something wrong with them. There are things go wrong, especially with the body, emotions, and thinking mind. A lot of things go wrong, a lot of traumas. There's all sorts of things. There's genetic problems. There's all sorts of things that happen that cause us to make it so that these things aren't the self-healing mechanisms they are designed to be. But assuming that all things, other things are equal, the body. Organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. And everybody needs to modify this according to their own constitution and their own experience, right? This is not a one-size-fits-all, nor is this dietary counseling. This is just the laws. When we eat garbage, we feel bad. We have stomach problems. We have other problems. You can feel it and see it. And if you don't feel it and see it, you're processing disease. One is processing disease on a much deeper level. In other words, being symptomatic is a good thing. Suppressing symptoms is not a good idea unless the symptoms are dangerous, in which case we have to take care of the symptoms. You don't want to die of a fever, but a fever, to a certain extent, to a safe extent, a healthy otherwise healthy individual, is what the body's doing to rid itself of whatever it is that's causing the fever, right? So we want to be symptomatic, not to the point of dysfunction, of inability to function, but symptoms have their purpose. So if we have symptoms, that means that things are on the surface. Some people, they say, oh, I eat garbage. I mean, I know people. I have a friend now, and I hope he's still alive. Beautiful man, young. And he ate really bad food and didn't move very much for many, many, many years. And was symptom-free, meaning he wasn't processing these things on a symptomatic level. And then young 50s, 50, I don't know. Serious cancers, I don't know if he's still alive. Cancer, diabetes, heart things. Bang, you're 40-something, you're 50-something, you're 60-something. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, I'm just saying that what's happening is we want symptoms because symptoms are the body dealing with the stress. So again, it's not dietary advice, but if we eat improperly, we will suffer, whether it's symptomatically or in the long term of processing a disease that will manifest later in a more serious way. Either way, probably, especially let's just say we eat garbage every day for a week. We feel bad. Is this the punishment of God? Is this we're not doing the right? It doesn't work that way. There's natural law. Obey natural law and things will take care of themselves. Natural law says eating clean, healthy food. If animals have to be eaten, they shouldn't be tortured. They shouldn't be eating bad food. They should be treated as humanely as possible in the context of the fact that they're just meat plants, although they're sentient. So when people say, well, I don't want to, people get very sanctimonious, very holier than thou about their vegetarianism and about what it's doing. Well, I don't want to do this. Vegetarianism, if it's got at its deepest, may be healthy for most people. Some people may thrive. It depends on why you're eating. Are you eating for your body, for your mind, for your emotions, for your soul, or for all of them? Eating animals is probably not good for the higher levels of functioning because it's killing higher and higher forms closer and closer to ourselves, and they also suffer. So we don't do that. People are, well, I feel so much better about myself when I don't eat meat. Well, that's all not well and good. The reason, well, there's environmental reasons, obviously, not to eat meat or to eat a lot less. There's health reasons for most people not to eat meat or not to eat a lot of it. Depends. There's different theories. But fundamentally, these animals don't want to die. It's called compassion. It's not about me or you. It's about the animal that wants to frolic in the sunshine, like you did when you were a little girl or a little boy, and like we do when we're healthy, little men and little women, bigger men and bigger women. So the conditions, the things that we can, that are simple to understand in the sense that you just do them or you don't do them, is food, is exercise. Exercise has three components basically. There's cardiovascular, there's resistance, and there's stretching. So again, within the context of where you are as an adult, you must choose how to do this as in the best way that's possible for you. Food, exercise, sleep, good water, good clean water that doesn't live in plastic if possible, that moves, that flows, that's been actually honored. Water has memory. Filter your water. Get a good filter if you can afford it. Get clean water. If we're blessed here in most of North America and in most of Europe, we have a lot of good clean water. South America, I don't know, less so, but still. Good clean water. Australia, Asia. There's water everywhere. There's some places that don't have enough water. But good clean water, and then put the water in something where you can honor it, where you can say thank you, because we're 70-something% water. And water is memory, it programs. You can even urinate consciously, which means when you put the water back into the world, let it go with blessing. Let it bring beauty and love with it, not waste and anger, dysfunction. So these components, and then kind of a bridge is meditation, a meditation practice, which means if you don't have one, this is a bridge. Now we're getting to the less concrete. Now, discipline is a difficult thing, and then again, it's the easiest thing in the world in the sense that it is obeying natural law, which will feed you back in peace, happiness, in health, peace, happiness. Health is joy. Health is joy. If we have health of the body, health of the emotions, health of the mind, the thinking mind, and health of the soul, then we are joyful like little children and yet responsible like full-grown adults. That transcends circumstances. That's where we're headed. That's what we're doing here. That's why we're alive in the school of hard knocks, in the school of unbelievable stress and unbelievable conditioning in the opposite direction. So discipline in these things. The meditation would be, if you don't have a practice, start with 30 seconds. 30 seconds, you can do that. 30 seconds in the morning. First thing you wake up, 30 seconds. And that just means sit quietly. Just watch your thoughts and be quiet. We'll get into meditation another time. That's a big topic. There's a lot to it. And then the last thing before you go to sleep, just look on the internet. Find some simple, non-denominational, not where they're trying to get your money or trying to get you into the group, just where they're trying to teach you how to be mindful, peaceful, and or process trauma, because that's meditation is not just finding peace, it's also, okay, digressing, sorry. So the discipline of these things, it's not hard. I mean, you can do a little research. Food, sleep, exercise, water. Find these things. And the discipline of get away from sugar. Every human being on planet Earth that's not starving, everybody that has any kind of standard of living is addicted to sugar. 999 out of 1,000, probably more. We're all strongly addicted. Sugar is an incredibly addictive substance. High fructose corn syrup. All the corn is genetically modified, unless it says it isn't. And even that, probably a lot of it is, because how do you keep these things from cross-pollinating? Point being, sugar. Get away from sugar. Get away from things that have more than one ingredient. If you want something with 5 ingredients, take the celery, take the cabbage, take the onions, take the water, take the whatever the other 4 vegetables are, one by one, cut them up and boil them. Then you have soup with 7 or 8 ingredients. Wonderful. You buy something at the store that's in a package with many ingredients, not wholesome. Almost never is it wholesome. Almost never. Don't be fooled by the health food industry. Look at the ingredients. Don't be fooled by the word natural. Natural means nothing. It means something. It has a government-approved definition, but it includes a whole host of things you don't want to put in your body if you're conscious. And Your body will serve you to the extent that you obey its law. Eat proper food. And if you can't, evolve slowly towards it. You will. You will. It's a matter of whether the forces of life and the desire to be truly joyful. Let's not be confused. A moment on the lips, a little bit of confusion and kind of forgetting because of alcohol, smoking something, and all these different things that we can do, the sex, the money, the fast, exciting things, the TV, all these things, they are not joy. They're distractions. They're keeping us away from our joy because they always leave us a little further down. So these are things that we can learn to be disciplined about. Okay. So once we've looked at these things that are concrete, they're do this, don't do that. Then we get into the things that are a lot kind of harder to deal with. Again, this is not psychological counseling, this is not emotional counseling, this is just spiritual meaning. This is overall amalgamation and presentation of natural law, how the emotions, mind, and soul, because we've talked about the body, will clean themselves, will balance, will heal. Now, if there's serious problems physically, go to the doctor. If there's serious problems emotionally, see a professional. If there's serious problems psychologically, see a professional. This is not professional advice. This is everyday processing, balancing, healing. This is how we do everyday work. If it's something extreme, if we have a condition that's in overwhelm means we can't do this, we can't handle it ourselves, or the condition is beyond our capacity to function, it's dangerous to us, or beyond our capacity to process and take care of ourselves, then we get help, professional help. This is not professional help. This is how we self-care and self-heal. Now, the way to start to work with the emotions and the thinking mind. The thinking mind and the emotions, these are in a loop. These are, we can say, symbiotic in a positive way and or a negative way. Generally, it's a very negative way. Generally, there's negative thoughts that are taking us out of the present, that are making us we're either with trauma or glory or shame about the past, or we're with worry, anxiety, anticipation for the future. None of this happens. It's all just stuff. Yes, some of the things from the past, that we carry these things in our bodies. Physically, that's the feelings. And in our minds, that's the thoughts. And these things loop. These past and future things loop. The thoughts feed the feelings, feed the thoughts, feed the feelings, and create this constellation. This constellation of reinforcing conditions. And we're talking about the dysfunction. For example, a fear, a trauma, a worry, and anxiety. Let's take something that's not too intense, an anxiety. Not an intense anxiety, not an attack. There's an anxiety. What do we do with anxiety? How do we work consciously to help ourselves heal from a simple anxiety or a simple fear? Again, if it's too much, if it's overwhelmed, if it's a serious problem, we get professional help. Here we are with just the everyday difficulty. What we do is we come out of, what happens in normal life is I have an anxiety. I am anxious about what's going to happen tomorrow when I have to go to work and there's some situation there. What would normally happen, and what we've been taught is normal, is the anxiety. I'm thinking about the conditions that are going to happen tomorrow, that I think are going to happen tomorrow. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. It could be totally different. It could be much, much easier. It could be much, much harder. I don't know. But we think about what we're imagining this. We're living in that future that hasn't happened yet and that may never happen. And then there's feelings in the body, and the feelings in the body are feeding the mind, and the thoughts are feeding the body. And we are lost in this, in the sense that we don't have anything but that experience while we're in that anxiety. Now, that's where the meditation comes in. there's a million ways to meditate. There's just basically being, there's just awareness, and that's just like a living meditation. Just mindfulness is a form of meditation. Mindfulness, meditate. What I'm talking about, what we need to cultivate and what we're trying to learn to do here is, it's very difficult to explain to people that haven't had any experience with this. If you've had experience with this, then we're just deepening what we already know. But people that have no experience with mindfulness, what mindfulness is it's watching yourself impersonally. Taking yourself personally is disaster. Okay, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Taking myself personally means that I'm taking this thinking and feeling thing as though it is who I am, as though it has it is the power of me, or the lack of power of me. It's that anxiety that we're talking about now as an example. Now I am anxious. What am I? I am not a being. I am anxiety in that moment. Now, of course I'm not anxiety. The most anxious person in the world is not anxiety. In the middle of a panic attack, one is not anxiety. It is an overwhelm of anxiety, but there are so many other things happening. And so what we're looking to do is to become conscious of the context in which this anxiety is happening. Meaning there's an anxiety, thinking, feeling, and then let's look at, when things are really serious, it's like hell. There's a lake of fire and it seems eternal, and you're in there. Okay, so even a little thing like a minor anxiety can feel like that. It can feel like a lake of you're just drowning, you're in there. And maybe it's not a terrible anxiety, so it's not like, but it's not good. We don't like it, and we're struggling, and we're drowning. We're surrounded, like the air is surrounding me right now, like the air is surrounding you. It's just the atmosphere that we're in is anxiety, whether it's intense or less intense. So we're in this anxiety, and what we do is we don't know that there's anything outside of that in that moment. Now, the mindfulness, the meditation, this whole frame of mind is the cultivation and the return, because we're not these little beings. We're these magnificent beings that think that we're little beings and feel that we're little beings, and that's where we're lost in this lake of fire of littleness. The mindfulness, the meditation, that frame of mind that either you're familiar with or you're not. If you're not, we're going to cultivate it, because it is necessary. It is something that watches. It could be called the observer. It could be called something, could be called the divine. It could be called any number of things. But we all have the ability, almost at any time, really. There are times of overwhelm, a pain of 10 out of 10. There's a very rare individual, or an anxiety that's a 10 out of 10. There's a rare individual that's been practicing this for a long time that can maintain that observer in that situation. But again, it's possible. The more the observer is present, meaning that which is watching, here's the lake of fire, and on the bank, there's some part of me watching this anxiety. There's some part of me that's saying, oh, for example, this tastes good. I'm eating a pear. Tastes good. Who's saying that? I'm tasting it. The taste is not everything. There's something that's observing the tasting. That's what we're talking about. That's the observer. So when we have pain, anxiety, this is everyday pain, everyday anxiety, or something that's more than everyday, but that we can handle ourselves, it doesn't need professional help. When we're in this thing, okay, honesty, courage, and humility. Honesty, courage, and humility. And if anybody that's watching this, including the person who's speaking this, thinks that I have honesty, courage, and humility, it's another lie. We all are cowards, we're all terrified liars, and we have no humility at all. We're lost in our egos. We think that we are the center of everything. Yes, there's levels of compassion, levels of narcissism, absolutely. But this channel here, this page here is called True Diamond Heart. The reason it's called Diamond Heart is because if you see a faceted diamond, it has faces. And at the center of the diamond, in this image, is the heart, which is, if you collapse all the faces down, all the properties of this diamond become one in the heart. And that's emancipation, freedom, self-realization, heaven, nirvana, bliss. So one of these faces is honesty. If one is perfectly honest, you'll get to the heart of the diamond and all the other properties that I just named, plus millions of other things: creativity, beauty, just kindness, compassion. The list goes on and on. All those will be yours. Honesty. Honestly, everything I think I am is a lie. It's the truth in the sense that it's a factual truth. Yep, factual truth. Arm. My arm? What do you mean my arm? In 100 years, is it my arm? 100 years, it's some totally different form. In the earth, who knows what it is? Yes, it's here for me to use now. I am a man. Oh, biologically? But in terms of who I am, that's a pure condition. And the condition is not the truth. The condition is simply condition. I've been conditioned to be manly. There's biological things. I'm not denying anything about fact. I'm talking about identification, the personality. We believe the dishonesty that we've been fed, that we've been conditioned, that we are this constellation of properties that have been taught to us. This is not who we fundamentally are. Honesty. To be honest. And look inside. Honesty is responsibility. If there's anybody watching this that's under 21, then maybe you shouldn't be watching, because this is for adults. Even 25 perhaps is a better cutoff age. 30. The frontal cortex or whatever this is. There's parts of our brain that aren't fully developed till 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And then developmentally, we live in a culture of pure adolescence. We maintain adolescence until we die, unless we do this work that we're talking about right here. So, honesty. Honesty means I am responsible as an adult for what happens here. I'm responsible for my health. I'm responsible for my function. I'm responsible for my dysfunction. Not credit, not blame. Responsible. I don't take credit for the fact that I write an amazing song. It just happened. Nor do I take blame for the fact that I did something really stupid. Just something to learn from. As soon as I take credit or blame, I've identified myself with it, and we're back into dishonesty. We're into the identity, the false identity. Honest. Be honest. Look inside and be honest. You're not going to like what you see, because what's looking is the part that's lying at the beginning, until we get a little bit more in touch with that which is bigger and which isn't a lie, which is just fundamentally truth itself. Be honest. Be honest. It's not as easy as it sounds. Courage, the courage to do what we're gonna get into soon. Courage. Because it's the only way. There's no way around. There's no way to deny. There's no way to hide. It all is there. The stuff we've been honest about, it's there for real. And we have to go through it. Through it. My friend has said the light in the tunnel. She's right. Not just the light at the end of the tunnel. The light in the tunnel, in the darkest. There's the time in the birth canal when your umbilical cord is squashed against your body, so you're not getting any air there, and it's tight, and you don't know if there's light. You don't know anything. You just know you can't breathe. Courage. Move through it. Through what we're talking about. Humility. Honestly, be courageous enough to understand that we are nothing and not important. That which is glorious about us is certainly not the part that needs to be healed. It's the part that's doing the healing. Okay. So the observer, to be courageous and honest and humble about watching the suffering and not taking it so personally, to be able to watch it with some distance. The observer, the mindfulness. That's the first thing. So we're mindful about it. We're watching it. We have some sense of not being completely drowning and surrounded surrounded, just completely filled and saturated with this thing that we're working through. We're using the example of anxiety now. So I've got this anxiety. Thinking, feeling. Oh, okay, there's something watching it. Good. We'll grow that with time. Meditation and practicing these things we're talking about will grow that. And the more we grow that, the faster we heal and the less we suffer from the healing during the healing process. Healing process will hurt. Healing process is going to hurt. It's also going to release things, and there's going to be joy that we didn't know we were capable of. Creativity, beauty, connection, your relationships will improve. Health will improve. Physical health. You'll be more beautiful. Everything. I mean, just everything will get better. But it's the hard route because the habit and the things that we're just used to doing to distract ourselves and get away from it and forget about it, which brings us to number 2, surrender. Surrender. First, observing, mindfulness, observe the pain, observe the anxiety in this case. Watch it. Some part of us is not drowning in it and saturated by it. Some part of us is aware of it happening. Eating the carrot, Some part of us is aware that we're eating the carrot. We're not just lost in carrot, taste, crunch, swallow. There's something that could say, oh, I am eating carrot. I am anxiety. That, watch it. If you have a meditation practice or you practice some mindfulness, you don't need to be, this is just a deepening of that. Okay, so the observation, the second thing, we've got the observer, we're growing the observer with the practice of this and with the whatever meditation we're working on or whatever mindfulness practice we're doing, because that is not an option. It's not an option. You will meditate or you will learn mindfulness if you don't want to suffer anymore. It's just that simple. There's no other way. It's not the whole way. It doesn't have to be the whole way, but part of it. To be aware. It doesn't have to be a formal meditation. You can just do like conscious. You can just be aware of yourself all the time. Mindful. Okay, so the observer. Second part, surrender. Surrender is intense. Surrender is everything. Surrender is the thing, man. Surrender is the bomb. Surrender is awesome. Okay, surrender. Surrender is like, now it's so easy to talk about these things, and all the spiritual traditions talk about I surrender to God, and they say yes, I'm aware, I'm conscious, blah blah. Just words. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If this stuff isn't yielding delicious fruit in a fairly short time, doesn't mean we arrived. But if it's not, if this is being done properly and there's no benefits, then it's not being done properly. You will feel better. You will have a more joyful life. You will be more at peace, more stable, less subject to circumstances. Period. The end. This is just the way it works. So surrender. We've got the observer. We're cultivating the observer. Surrender. What does surrender mean? Surrender means I accept. In this context, the only time surrender is valuable, of course, I surrender to being on the beach and having like a delicious fruit smoothie. Surrender to that. That's not that hard. Surrender in this situation means accepting that which customarily or generally people consider unacceptable. I consider it's not acceptable. Anxiety. Here's how we don't surrender. We fight it. Means no, I hate this. We complain. You know what? We talk to other people. We complain to ourselves. Same thing. Oh, I don't like this. I don't want to. We tell stories. Well, this is because I did that and someone else did this and it's going to happen. That's why. Stories. We have these elaborate narratives around the feeling and the thought. And the thoughts, we're actually working with this on the level of thought, right? So we distract ourselves. Have a drink, turn on the TV, call someone. Distraction. That's not surrendering. We push it down and say, oh, I don't really feel anxious. I don't really feel anxious. Surrender. I'm anxious. Some part of me is watching the anxiety, isn't lost in the anxiety. That's the observer. Now comes the surrender. The surrender says, true surrender says, give me more if that's what's necessary. Because what's happening in the pain, the anxiety, if it's processed properly, which is what we're talking about, how to properly process these things that we're dealing with. Processed properly, the anxiety is the healing. Now, because we're not using it properly, we're not processing it properly, it becomes the loop of dysfunction, and it feeds itself and it becomes worse, or maintains its energy. It becomes worse, we just don't know it. Things are either getting better or worse, they don't stay still. So, I have anxiety and I'm processing it properly. The surrender part is the part that says these feelings, as much as I don't like them, and that's a complicated thing because part of me does like it. The part that's dysfunctional and complaining loves it because it's the food of it's the parasitical personality feeding off the energy of the soul. Complicated, don't worry about it. The anxiety is being improperly processed. That means, oh, I hate this. Oh, it's because of this, that, and the other thing. Oh, this is not really happening. Well, let me distract myself. Oh, I hate this. Oh, fighting it. Surrender is saying, as unpleasant as this may or may not be, as much as I feel I don't like this, I will allow this to do what it needs to do. Now, if you wind up a toy and you hold the toy, as soon as you let it go, it's gonna do the monkey's gonna do its little it's gonna do its thing, right? So we wind this anxiety is the wound up energy, and we can do two things with it. We can either hold it, which means we fight it. We don't surrender to it. That list of things I just went through. I don't need to keep going through the list. We don't surrender. We fight it. We argue that whatever that list is, and that's actually adding energy to the monkey. And the monkey is this wound up energy is controlling us, making us deeply unhappy, keeping us in addictive behaviors. That's what it's doing, right? As much as we pretend it's not, as strong as our act can be, as much as we can lie to ourselves and not be honest with ourselves, there's that feeling, we know something's not right. If something's right, we sleep like babies. We smile naturally. We're full of creativity and energy and joy. That's not what's going on. We're not moody. We're stable. Adults above circumstances. So there's that holding of the energy and the growing of the energy by not surrendering, or there's the surrendering. Let it go. And the thing goes, in the case of anxiety, it's like, oh, anxiety. But the observer and the courage and the honesty and the humility and the observer and the surrender just says, okay. Anxiety, show me what you got. And I guarantee you it will run out of energy over time. It might take years. It might take a few minutes. No one knows. It depends on the level of anxiety, what's causing it. But it will start to release. It will start to dissipate. The monkey will start to run out of that wound up energy. And it could be fear. I'm just using anxiety as an example. It could be fear, could be jealousy, could be rage, could be any of these things, right? These painful things that we're dealing with. So we've got the observer, we've got surrender. Surrender means I accept this as part of my healing process. And getting into the third thing, which is really difficult. And if you can't do it, it's okay. It's got to be sincere. Gratitude. Gratitude says, thank you. Thank you for this healing. As much as it's painful, as difficult as it is, I'm watching it with some part of me, hopefully a growing part of me, or cultivating the growing part of the observer. It says, I am surrendered to this. I accept this as necessary. As going through, we go through things into the center of the tunnel. You're afraid, go into the center of your fear. Anxiety, the center of your anxiety. Again, if it's too much, if it's clinical, get help. We're talking about things we can handle by ourselves. We're adults. We have to be adults and take responsibility for ourselves and figure out what we can handle ourselves and what we can't. Into the center of it with a surrender that says, I accept the fact that this is part of the healing process, and the healing wisdom of, in this case, the emotions and the thinking mind will pull me through this simply by the observation, not being completely lost in it, and by the surrender. Now, to be grateful is a huge bonus. If in the center of that feeling and that difficulty, with the observation and surrender, one could say, oh, thank you emotions, thank you higher energy, thank you higher self, thank you God, doesn't matter what you call it. Thank you thank this for bringing me here. Give me more. I appreciate this. And if you don't feel it, don't say it, because that's another lie. Don't lie. Lying is not good. Lying is not good. It's just not healthy. You know, it's not a moral. It's not a moral like judgment. It's a simple fact. Lying is really unhealthy, and so try not to. But to be truly grateful in that moment is incredible. It's so powerful, and you will feel grateful at times because you're going to start to get the payoff. And then the other thing is, ask for help. Now, all the 12-step programs, they say, I am helpless in the face of this. The I they're talking about is the I that's lost. The I that's the alcoholic, that's the sex addict, that's the narcotic addict, that's the anger addict. That self is incapable of doing it. There's a higher power. Well, that higher power can be the thing I'm talking about, which is the way I've phrased it, which is the internal and the innate healing power of body, thinking, mind, emotions, and soul. Innate healing power of those things. Could be God. Doesn't matter. These are just words, right? But it's there. So the thing about the 12-step program, God bless. Fantastic. As soon as one's gone through a 12-step program, I would encourage one, as soon as one's strong enough, and this is counter to everything, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. It's not my place to say it. Not my place to say it. I'll just say simply this. An addiction to anything is an addiction. Any group that doesn't help you be fully independent has left you shy of the mark, because as an adult, what we're looking for is full independence. Full independence. You are autonomous as an adult. You choose and make your way. You choose and make your way. You choose and make your way. You are infinitely able to do so. I promise. You are designed to do this in this school of earth, of material insanity, absolute false conditioning, completely insane and sickness. We are adults, and we are infinitely capable of going through addiction, through fear, through all of these things, to the independent and unbelievably joyful, creative being that you are here to learn to be. Any group that keeps you in the group where that's the end, is to be in a group. I'm not saying they haven't helped a lot. I'm just saying it's only part of the way. Full autonomous independence doesn't mean we don't belong to groups, but we don't need to belong to anything. We do it out of choice, not out of need or any addictive function. So the last thing, we have the observer, cultivating the observer, the meditative mindfulness that watches the thing that we're processing. And by the way, this takes time. We have to have time and stillness. There's got to be time where you sit and you process. It doesn't happen while you're chewing a donut. We already know that something's wrong when you're chewing the donut, chewing the donut and driving your car and listening to music. And, oh, gee, I think I'll process something. No, you're home, you're quiet, you're somewhere relatively quiet. If you don't have enough quiet, put in earplugs, get some quiet, you got to be alone. Independence, alone. You are alone. You're not. You're never alone. You're always joined spiritually in the heart, in the cosmic mind. Like I said at the beginning of this talk, we're all here, we're all one, we're all together. That's always there, never alone. But as an adult, independence means take your place, your independence. Okay, so we're asking, we've got the mindfulness, we've got the surrender, gratitude if possible. That's a great bonus. And when we have it, we have it. When we don't pretend it. And then ask for help, which simply means, I don't know, it can be Jesus, it can be Muhammad, it could be Buddha, it could be higher self, it could be the innate healing wisdom of these systems, it doesn't make a difference what it is. Just help me. Which means the me that's asking for help is smaller than the me that's being asked for help. The me that's asking for help is the one that's suffering. The small identified personality self. the help we're asking for is the greater self, which is the unified, divine self, connected self. So that's it. Observe, mindful, surrender, possible gratitude, and ask for help. And then take the time to do it. Turn off the TV, turn off the phone, just spend some time. Cultivate a mindfulness, consciousness, awareness, and or meditation practice. Just do it because you want to thrive. Try it. If it doesn't work, then stop. You'll never stop. It'll grow. That's why I say 30 seconds first thing you wake up, just to be aware of the fact that you're alive. Don't have to be grateful, don't have to be happy, just wake up in the morning. 30 seconds if you don't have a practice yet. 30 seconds, you can do that. Doesn't matter how many wives, kids, husbands, kids, bosses, dogs, cats, doesn't matter. You have 30 seconds. Don't lie. You have 30 seconds to sit there. Or lay there if someone's going to notice you sitting up and want something from you. Then just lay there if that's what you have to do. And just be aware of the fact that you're breathing. Be aware of the fact that you're alive. Feel your body from the inside. Be conscious of the fact that you exist, because we're unconscious of the fact that we exist. 30 seconds. And before you go to sleep, better if you can sit up and do it, but if you can't, just find it. And 30 seconds before you go to sleep. This is the bookends of your waking consciousness. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. And then very soon you'll be doing a minute and a half. Soon you'll just be doing a lot of it. And you'll be doing it at other times. You'll be doing it wake up in the night. You'll be doing it. Time for this practice. Also, time to process. And it is meditative. What we're talking about is meditative. In other words, one sits by oneself and one actually is mindful of the feelings in the body, the thoughts and how the thoughts and minds are aware, observing the anxiety, the fear, the jealousy, the anger, the worry, the all these different things. Whatever it is, we're observing this. Again, if it's clinical and if it's dangerous and if you can't handle it, get professional help. We're talking about, we're adults. The normal thing for normal people is process these things. Normal people, not normal. Average person, most of us processing most of these things. This is how we do it. This is a meditation on processing imbalance, sickness, dysfunction, pain, whatever it is. Take the time to be quiet and still and honest and courageous and humble and see what's really there. Stop lying. Self-image. Image means it's not real. Image means it's not real. Self-image. I see the image right there. I see the image right there. I can see it right on my phone. I see the image. That is the image. Self just is. I am is the self. Self-image is a lie. Period. The end. Be honest about it. Take the time to sit in honesty, courage, and humility, to be observing of what's happening, and honest about it. The pains, the fears, the anxieties, the traumas. Surrender to them. Let them work themselves out without interfering about them, without complaining about them, without explaining them, without resisting them, without sublimating them, pushing them down, without distracting from them, without telling stories about it. Just, if we could be grateful about it, even better. Not even better, more powerful when we have those moments of gratefulness. And then ask for help, especially when it becomes almost overwhelming. It's great. There is help. You will get help. It's just the way it is. If there's humility, if you're really asking for help. If you're saying, help me in desperation, you're not going to get help, because that's just desperation being desperate. Desperation isn't asking for help. Desperation is desperate. Help is surrendered. I accept what is necessary. Please help me. Please help me. Thank you. Wow, that's really painful. Please help me. Take the time. And as we put these things off and as we don't do them, it's simply the dysfunction maintaining itself on our vital energy. the thing that's happening is there's a parasitical being that is feeding on each and every one of us. It is a personality, it is a self-image, it is an image of what we think others think of ourselves, which is all part of the self-image, because we don't know what they're really thinking. Even if they tell us, they don't know what they're thinking. Too much confusion in every direction. This little self, little self-identified self, it is feeding on our vital energy, and we are not writing symphonies. We are not holding hands in utter joy of children and hugging each other in the streets randomly for no reason. Like little kids do. They do that if they're not messed up in their mind already. Writing phenomenal things, creating unbelievable geometries, just feeling pure joy of being, the bee that's just buzzing next to the creation instead of destruction, generosity instead of greed, love instead of lust. I mean, my God, the list goes on and on and on. It goes on forever. So to have this, we have to free ourselves from this little self-image personality thing that's going on. And that little thing is the pain, is the trauma, is the dysfunction, is the thing that we are now processing. And when we don't take the time and we're afraid to be alone, we're all afraid to be alone, we're all afraid of silence, right? Ooh, then it all catches up with us. Good, let it catch up with us. Damn straight, come on, bring it on. Bring it on, who cares? Yeah. Let's see what's going. It's a big freaking mind game, because underneath it is just beauty. It's an image. Can't hurt you. Sure. You know, let's be real. Tremendous pain and suffering has gone on. And I'm not belittling anybody or anything. You know, we've all been through some serious things, and some of us have been through horrendous things. I get it. But when we don't take the time and we don't be independent, we're not alone. It's simply that we're under the hypnotism of the self-image of the personality. And we're adults. So what it is that we've been talking about here is the possibility and the reality of emancipation, of freedom, of happiness, of joy. And so this is what you and I are going to do the rest of our lives. Because this is how we bring the good father, the good mother, the good brother, the good sister, the good son, the good daughter, the good citizen, the good connection to the animals and the plants and the earth. This is how we bring life and nourish creativity and nourish joy and beauty. This is how we bring the high God and love. God's a word. God and love, whatever, these higher things to manifest on the earth. This is how we do. That's why we're here. So that's what we're going to do. And when we do this seems very self-centered. And it is self-centered in the sense that cleanness, and this becomes simply a channel and a vessel to disperse that love and light and beauty into the whole universe, this whole world of seemingly other beings. So it's the most selfless thing we can do, is to clean and heal. And then we'll automatically be doing what's right for other people, for the planet, for the animals, for the plants. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday and every Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. We start at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm not sure what time it is for everybody. We've got a lot of time zones going on. So I'll see you all next Wednesday. If people have certain things that they want to be addressed, certain themes and topics, feel free to, drop a note. A lot of stuff's been going to be going on here, and this is really going to be a program of a long-term program for us to do two things: for us to self-emancipate and then create community of emancipation, because realistically, the only reason we self-emancipate is to live joyful lives and be joyful, creative, beautiful beings. And the only reason we do that is because, or the expression and the reality of that is simply the need to expand that into every being that ever has lived and that lives now and that ever will live. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're growing light. We're growing love. We're growing community. We're growing self into the definition of self. We're redefining self from these little skin bags into a magnificent thing where each skin bag is a cell, and the cell's bursting with life and joy, but is part of the hive. Again, part of this greater phenomenal thing that can't be captured by words, and that is expressed through each and every one of us, and is expressed greater and more beautifully and more intensely the more we do this work. So I'll see you all Wednesday. Let's grow this community. Let's do this. Let's do this. This is a life worth living. Let's do it. I love you guys. You guys are like, yeah. See you soon.